Welcome to another installment of A More Perfect Career, a place where information is shared, ideas are exchanged, and individuals in career transition gain insights about landing their perfect job. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the next installment of A More Perfect Career. Today I have Angelo Giallombardo, who is an executive recruiter and a six-figure plus job searching consultant for the last 15 years in the pressure-sensitive adhesives, packaging, chemicals, polymers, plastics, and industrial manufacturing markets. He's been a vice president of Central Executive Search for the last 15 years, and he is the president of Central Candidate Search, which is a sister company to Central Executive Search that helps determine six-figure earners to secure a job in the niche markets that he serves. His accomplishments include a record-breaking year in 2016 and 2017, certified personal consultant certification in 2007, the number one LinkedIn profile and authority in his recruiting market, and a number one best-selling author of the book, You Got the Job, Turn Your Career Dreams into Reality. He has dedicated his life to helping job seekers with their career advancement and job searches. He now shares his insights, expertise with the hiring process, and proven career advancement system with the world in the hopes of making a massive impact in the day-to-day lives of career professionals. Welcome, Angelo.
Hey, thanks for having me. Excellent introduction. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak with your audience today.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time to be with me today. One of the reasons I wanted to get you on the show today was I've read your book. I find it very interesting. The help that you're giving to candidates out there with the job searches, that is so valuable and immeasurable. And as we are sharing some of the same things with career placement transition individuals, I thought it would be real key to get you on the show. So you've been a recruiter now for roughly 15 years. Is that correct?
My favorite. And so he pulled me back into recruiting because I did work for him in high school. It's always surrounded by it, always surrounded by the office environment of trying to help people and get people jobs. So yeah, a little over 15 years now. And it really comes from family. You know, this is an excellent family company we have here, and I was trained, and it's really in my blood. In fact, just so you know, I was speaking with my 87-year-old grandpa yesterday, and I interviewed him. I wanted to know his life story, and really what I came to find out is he worked for Sealy Mattress for 20 years, and he's a great salesman. He's been in the furniture business forever, and he's just a pure sales guy. I think a lot of the skills that I have in me and my blood are just really come from my family, my grandpa's personality, and it kind of bled into my dad and myself. So we, recruiting is also selling, it's also talking to people, relating to them. And so it's really in my blood.
Excellent. So I was going to ask you what led you into the business. I think you just answered that. I can hear the passion in your voice when you're talking about what you do and how you help people. It's, again, one of the reasons I wanted to get you on the show today. We've met in the past, and you are very passionate about what you do. And that passion has a tendency to rub off on people and make people excited, who are generally in a position in their lives that is less than enviable. Many of the people you're dealing with are looking for a job. If they might have one, not happy, or they might be actually out on the streets and looking. And that passion that you bring to your job really helps people feel much more comfortable. Prior to getting into the business with your father, tell me a little bit about what you did before that. Where did you go to school, and what did you do right out of school?
So I went to Ohio University from 1997 to 2001. I graduated in 2001 with a botany degree. So I studied science. I studied plants and biology, and I really wanted to make a career out of that. It was something that I loved. And I actually read a quote recently from Mark Cuban. He said, just recently in an article, he said, don't try to make your passions your career. And that's what I tried to do in college. Well, Mark Cuban says, don't try to make your passions your career. make what you're best at, your career, what you spend the most time on. So I tried to make biology my career, and I don't want to say I failed, but I couldn't find a job coming out of college at 2001 because it was right after 9/11. And as you know, everything kind of changed after 9/11. A lot of fear, uncertainty, and doubt in the world, and a lot of the jobs and the economy kind of froze up there for a while from this huge event. And so I found myself after college looking for a job. Shortly after, about 5 or 6 months later, I ended up finding a position. It wasn't really related to botany or biology. It was environmental sciences. And what I was doing was I was a smokestack tester. So I would climb these industrial power plants and smokestacks where all these chemical plants and all these places that emit fumes and gas into the atmosphere, and I would test them. And I worked as a smokestack technician in some really grueling environments, snow and the rain, and 50-mile-an-hour winds, 100 feet in the air, breathing pollution all day in these power plants. It was a humbling experience, and didn't love it. It was rough work. Wasn't paid all that well. I worked a lot of extra hours, and I'd come home each night, and my dad and mom, who were supporting me at the time because I had just got out of college, and I just moved back home from college, and home is Cleveland. And I've been living with them for a little while, for about 10 or 11 months. And then I think at the 11th month, I was at Avery Dennison in Mentor, Ohio, and I was testing one of their industrial smokestacks, and it was snowing. It was a whiteout, and I was about 100 feet in the air. The wind was blowing, the stack was blowing, and I was cold, I was shivering. I was up there for 10 hours. I was just freezing. And I got home that night, and I said, Dad, I think I need to have you give me a shot. Please give me a shot. I can't do this forever. He said, you know what, son, I understand. Come work for me. So I quit my job, took a big risk, quit my job. It was a stable job. It wasn't something I loved, but I quit it and tried recruiting, something new. And I started trying to recruit candidates for my dad. And from there, the rest is history. I got good at it within a year or two, and then I started working a desk. And now I work with clients for the last 14 years, and really enjoyed it. And I learned to love it, and I learned to make it to make it something that I'm passionate about.
That's wonderful. So for those of you out there that are not familiar with Mentor, Ohio, it's right off of the lake. Those winds come across Lake Erie, and that snow blows 150 feet up in the air. I can only imagine how uncomfortable it must have been. I'm not surprised that it was a day like that drove you down to the safer quarters of an office and helping people on the ground.
Yeah, it was also really touchy. Like the reason we were up on the stack so long is because we got these little pieces of equipment and these glass tubes and all this scientific equipment, and then sometimes the snow would blow it away or ruin the test. We have to start all over. So there was a lot of challenges in that environment, breathing solvents all day, and I'm real grateful my dad gave me that opportunity. It's a blessing in disguise. I didn't know that I would love it this much, and here I am. So
what is it, a year and a half ago or so now, you wrote a book? Mm-hmm. So tell us a little bit about that. What was the process? Why did you want to write a book? And what have things been like for you since that book was published?
Yeah. So I've been helping people and getting jobs for them for such a long time. And about 2 years ago, I started really feeling that I'm in this niche market. I work a lot in adhesives and packaging, chemicals, polymers, plastics, industrial manufacturing markets. It's kind of this niche market. And really, I can help about, 20 or 30 people a year, placing them in jobs. But I talk to hundreds of people each year, maybe over 1,000, 2,000 people each year, trying to get them jobs. And we talk about the communication's easier now with email and with texting. I talk to a lot of people trying to help them, and I realized about 2 years ago that I'm only helping a small fraction of these people. And I started thinking, I'm fortunate. I've been successful in my career. what can I do to help more people? Really, I really want to help more people. So that's what really drove me to start getting creative about what am I going to do that I can reach more people in a mass way, more of a mass production way, where I can give my advice and expertise and help those people with my knowledge and experience and give them pointers and tips, tactics and tools that they could use, that they can help themselves, because I can only help so many people behind my desk. So, and plus there was all these different people that I really valued working with. I think they were fantastic candidates. I couldn't get them the job because they didn't get hired for one reason or another, but I knew they were good enough to get the job. And so all those people, I felt like they were so close, and all they needed was a little more time for me and a little more advice. So the reason for writing the book was I wanted to help more people. And I really believe I did that. And it was really a passion of mine. I kicked it out pretty quickly in terms of writing a book. I'd already had all the information inside of me, and I did a little bit of research for it, but I think I spent 3 weeks writing the outline and just getting it all formatted the way I wanted. And then each chapter, one by one, over the next 8 weeks, I plugged away and wrote it out. I think it took me about 8 or 10 weeks to finish the book. And then it took me about 2 more months to edit it and get everything lined up with my team, the cover, all the little intricacies that you look for. And so it all came together pretty nicely within about 6 months. And gratefully, it did very well. It was sold number one for about a couple weeks there, number one in about 14 different business categories on Amazon. And I think I sold several thousand copies, and then I ended up also giving away several thousand copies to people because I really just wanted to reach more people, and it was about helping others.
And what is the name of the book?
It's called You Got the Job, Turn Your Career Dreams into Reality.
And you can find it on Amazon?
You can, yes.
Wonderful, wonderful. So what can you tell our audience, what types of people or clients do you work with? And what would you consider to be your perfect client?
It's a good question. Well, the types of clients I work with here in the space that I'm in, industrial manufacturing, are chemical manufacturers, companies that make chemicals, polymers, they make adhesives, coatings, some type of film. And then I also work with companies that work with different types of plastics. As I mentioned, films are types of plastics. And then anything that it revolves around this big umbrella of packaging. So all those materials I just listed go under this big umbrella of packaging. So there's, it seems like it's a huge market, right? But each little segment's a niche. And you have to know exactly who is involved, which companies are involved in each niche, who are the main players, who's successful, why. And then you have to also understand the different qualities that these employers look for in candidates. So if we're going to talk about my ideal client as a company, as a recruiter, I would say my ideal client is a company that understands exactly what they want, has a company culture where the hiring manager goes directly to the HR manager and they talk about their needs and the function of the position, the culture fit and the fit in the team. And then they also talk about why this position is open and why it's a good opportunity for someone. And so the best clients have a really clearly defined job description, clearly defined qualifications. They know exactly the type of personality they want and the type of person from the industry, or even with the right skills that are outside of the industry. But understanding how that person fits into the role and into the company culture and into the group within that company is critical. And I think a lot of companies miss this because what ends up happening is the hiring manager and the HR team or the hiring team don't communicate properly about all these intricate details. And it's really more about hiring the right fit and the right person than it is about exactly hiring the right background or the right experience. You need a little bit of both, but I definitely think the bigger piece is the intangibles and the ability for a company to identify the kind of personality and the kind of drive and passion and fit within the organization. And that needs to be worked out. It's a cultural thing. So my ideal client is a company that knows exactly what they want and is clearly defined what they're trying to accomplish with hiring somebody.
Wonderful. So in your world, the client is the company. The candidate then is the person who is looking for a job, the person that you are looking to place. Tell
Yes.
me then about the perfect candidate. How do you go about finding them, and how do you make sure that they are the perfect candidate for that client who is the perfect client?
Well, the perfect candidate, it varies from opportunity to opportunity, because once a company knows exactly the kind of person that they want, it's my task and job to find them the person that fits within that company. So when I look for a perfect candidate, it all kind of is custom. Each situation is more custom than the next, but they have to have several qualities that are crucial. One is they have to have the ability to be humble enough to know that they don't know everything and that there's the ability to learn. Two is they have to be able to pull back their old accomplishments, their old success stories, their numbers, their data, and quantify their results on a resume and in person in their interview for the hiring company. So they have to be able to pull their old information back from their experience and articulate it in a way that shows that they're the solution for that company's problems. And number three is they have to be able to really relate and engage in the interview process and ask questions that are pertinent to that company. I talk a lot about this in the articles I write on LinkedIn and with my candidates. Is there's an art to going about getting the job that you want, and that art involves really understanding the picture in the hiring manager's mind. What is that person that's hiring you looking for? What's their problem? And how do you position yourself as the solution to solve that company's problem? Their job opening is their problem. And understanding the picture in their mind is really critical so that you can help them understand why you're the solution and why you're going to be able to help them solve their problem when they hire you. So it's a lot of role playing in the hiring manager's mind. And as the candidate, the ideal candidate has the ability to understand the psychology behind the whole process, articulate themselves in a very strong presentation, and be able to relate to the hiring manager directly.
Wonderful. Excellent. So over the years, what would you consider to be one of your biggest successes?
Well, I've got a lot of them. I'm not trying to brag here. I think I'm very grateful for where I've come from. I had a lot of struggles in the beginning, so I appreciate the success I have had. The last 5 years have been incredible. Each year I've built on the next, and I've had stronger sales each time. So there's a lot of successes that I'm proud of, but the book is one of the more proud successes I've had because I've reached more people. I accomplished my goal, and I gave more knowledge and experience to those people. The other ones are, personal success, the sales numbers. I mean, last year I broke a record, and the year before that I broke a record in our little office, and I'm really proud of that. But more importantly, I think the ability to relate to people and to help them, give them the tools that actually help them to get the job that they're hungry for, that they want. And so using my previous experience to help others, I think that's the biggest success that I can articulate to you.
Wonderful. Wonderful. What about some of the bigger challenges that you've had to face?
Yeah, so I went through a couple of recessions, and as I mentioned, I started off in one in 2001, 2002. 2002, I started in a tough time. The economy was down, and we were getting beat up, and there weren't a lot of opportunities. So I really cut my teeth on the tough times. And then we went through that really tough time, and from 2008 to 2010, everybody was struggling. I saw a lot of recruiters go out of business. And so those are two of the biggest challenges personally in my life. And then, the other challenges I've had professionally is, we have a family business. We work with family, and sometimes that's not always the easiest. It's very rewarding when you're able to communicate properly, and we are. But I think that can be a challenge sometimes. You know each other so well, and you see each other each day. And then if you're asking my personal challenges, I've had my own personal challenges, some health problems here and there that I've always recovered from. So I have Crohn's disease, and I had surgery in 2004, and I overcame that, and I'm healthy now. So I think that those are the challenges I've had throughout my life.
As a business coach as well as a career coach, I can sympathize with the working with family. I coach a lot of organizations that are family businesses, and there are dynamics there that you just don't have, and you can't necessarily get away from when you're working with family, as opposed to working in, say, a corporate type environment. With regards to your industry, what do you see as some of the trends, some of the changes that are going on within your industry? And do you see these as good or bad?
Consolidation. I see a ton of merger and acquisitions the last 7 or 8 years. Big companies buying small companies, big companies merging with big companies. I mean, case in point, Dow absorbed DuPont. I mean, DuPont was a giant name, one of the biggest chemical companies in the world. Dow Chemical and them merged. It's incredible that happened. That's one of the biggest trends I've seen, or things that have impacted our business, impacted candidates' lives, and impacted my clients. And so those are some of the trends. And a whole bigger perspective, I think the whole idea of becoming a better candidate, and the whole surrounding yourself with more knowledge and tools, and the abilities to interview better, and to make yourself become more of the perfect solution for a company, to be a better candidate. I think those are bigger trends as the candidate is looking at, that have happened more and more the last 5 years. And I think it's continuing to get that way, because there's a lot more competition for those really crucial jobs.
Excellent. What about the whole idea of the online markets, the people looking for jobs via the online marketplaces,
It's changed.
Monster, Indeed, and all of that?
It's changed the whole world. It's so funny. When I started off, we were emailing. We were barely emailing our clients. We had email. We didn't email much. We always picked up the phone and called them. And then most of the time, we were not emailing a resume. We were getting a hard copy in the mail, snail mail, the U.S. mail. We'd get a hard copy. We'd copy it. We'd file it in our filing cabinet, our metal filing cabinet, where there was 15,000 resumes. Then we'd pull that resume out, make a copy, and fold it up and put it in a piece of mail and mail it to the client. It would take weeks for them to get back to us, for them to set up the next step in the interview process. This whole online process, emailing, internet, Monster, Career Builder, LinkedIn, Indeed, ZipRecruiter, all this stuff has just revolutionized the hiring process. And there's so much more information there at fingertips. And I think it's sped up everything. It's sped up business. It's sped up our hiring process. It's really streamlined things a lot more. And it's also given people a lot more access to the jobs that they didn't have access to before. So the whole world has changed since I started working. The internet's changed everything in the recruiting business. There's so many more recruiters than I ever thought there were now, in so many more markets. And I think it's an incredible thing, and I welcome it, because if you can't float downstream, then you're just going to be swimming upstream, and you won't get anywhere.
Excellent. So I find it interesting in that whole online marketplace that you talk about, and how things used to be done with snail mail, and certainly at the start of my career, that was how everything was always done. Nowadays, there's this idea: you can log onto your computer, you can go to somebody like Indeed or Monster, and the job of your dreams will be sitting there waiting for you. From my side, I find that to be very, very misleading and very untrue. I still think there is that element of that personal connection that somebody like yourself helps provide. You're serving as a filter, per se, between that candidate and that client of yours, and trying to come up with the best fit between the two. is what have you seen with regards to some of those online job boards and how it affects you?
Well, it makes it, for me, I'm in these niche markets, and I'll tell you, I think it affects me because it takes away the opportunity for some of my clients to work with me because they have so many more access to so many more people. But I've had to step my game up, and I think it's made me better because it's challenged me and made me maneuver around the new technology and really develop the relationships that are crucial to having success with these companies. Now, in terms of the candidates, I think it's this illusion that if you can go apply online and get a job that you should. It doesn't really work that way. I mean, you can put your resume up there, you can apply for these jobs online, but a lot of times it just gets lost in the black hole of the internet. You send this resume through Indeed.com, and then it's supposed to go to the HR manager, the hiring manager, but it does go to them, but they never see it, and they get 10,000 resumes, and where does it go? And then you find out later that you weren't being considered for who knows what reason. They didn't contact you, and they hired someone else. And you start wondering, what was that all about? Why is it unfair that I applied online? I thought I was going to get a shot at this, and I was the perfect candidate for it, but I didn't really get a chance. They never really gave me a fair shot. And so I think it's muddied the water for candidates and made it more difficult for them. And even though it might seem easier, it almost is more difficult because they've lost the skills, the interpersonal skills it takes to relate to the hiring manager and get the job by really developing a relationship with them directly. So it's almost like it's a screen or a filter to filter out more people than ever.
Okay, yeah, that's very much how I see it out there. What are the top one or two tips that you could give to someone who is looking for a job or who in 2018 here might be thinking about some type of a job or career change?
I'm going to go against the grain here a little bit. I tell people to customize the resume. When you find a company or you find a opportunity that you want to go for, then make sure that resume is customized and make sure that it speaks directly to what those needs are on the job description or job specifications. So I like to customize the summary at the top of the resume to grab the attention of the hiring manager right away, to actually get them to look at your resume, because there's a stat that people say that hiring managers only really look at your resume for less than 10 to 15 seconds before they decide whether they're going to read the rest of it. And it may even be less. So my advice here is to customize the resume so it catches the attention of the hiring manager as soon as possible. The other thing I would say is don't be afraid to take a backdoor approach to the hiring process. Reach out to the people that you think you want to work with. There's all these tools now online. There's ways to find people. Be creative. Call someone. Email them. Don't be a pest, but definitely try to establish a relationship with somebody, and then through that relationship, help them understand the value you bring to their organization and you bring to their company. And then you'll have a much better chance of not only getting the interview, but getting other interviews, because people talk and people connect with each other. So don't be afraid to step out on a limb and take a backdoor approach to the hiring process and contact people directly.
Wonderful. LinkedIn provides a wonderful way to do that, to reach deep into companies and find people that might potentially be able to help you.
I think so too.
What do you feel that you do better than your competitors?
You're trying to get me to show my my big ego here. I don't know. I think I just try to relate to people. It's all about relationships and treating people the way you want to be treated, working hard for them, knowing that you have their best interests in mind, making sure that you match up their crucial needs and their culture fit with the right candidates, bringing them candidates that, in terms of the clients right now, bringing them candidates that they feel would fit their organization and their openings. And I think I do differently is that I really establish that relationship. We have a fabulous reputation here. We're grateful that we've built that reputation. But it goes back to the old adage, treat others the way you want to be treated. and have a lot of integrity, admit when you're wrong, communicate effectively, clearly, and just just do your best. I think those are part of the real general stuff, but values are underlooked here in this day and age. And then if we're going to talk about candidates, I think the way it's actually the same for the candidate. I really treat the candidate like it's my friend. I have their best interest in mind. I'll tell them when I don't think it's going to be the best fit. I'll tell them when they make way too much money for this job, or this is not a good career advancement for them. I'll let them know when their resume is not solid. I'll tell them the little secrets it takes to relate to somebody in the interview, or I'll give them, I'll go above and beyond and give them worksheets I have and articles that I've written that can help them realize that they can put themselves in a position to be the one that's selected if they do these certain things that really help them be the solution to the company's problems. So I'd like to think that I do that better than my competitors, but I guess you'd have to ask them.
Well, I do know this. You bring a lot of passion to what you do. You provide a very valuable service for people that are in career transition. So in closing, if somebody wanted to get in touch with you, how can they find you?
Well, there's several ways to find me. I'm an old-fashioned guy. You can call me. You can call me at the office. My phone number is 440-772-1015. You can email me at angelo@centraljobs.com, or look me up on LinkedIn. I think that's probably the even easier way. I think all my contact information is there. I'm an open book. So I'm all over LinkedIn. You'll see all my articles, and you'll see, you'll see me everywhere. So LinkedIn, it's linkedin.com/IN/Angelo Giallombardo. I'll spell it for you. It's ANGELOGIALLOMBARDO. So find me on LinkedIn, or call me or email me. I'll be happy to work with you. And it's been a pleasure and honor to have this talk with you, Greg. Thank you so much for having me.
Angelo, thank you. I will post your information when I put this up on LinkedIn. I will post the information on a slide so everybody has it. Thank you so much for spending the afternoon with me here. I appreciate it, and we will be in touch.
Yep. Thanks again, Greg.
Take care.
You too.